see loads of people around me competing with peers or those that they perceive as peers or other people in similar or same spaces. And then when I see that, I find myself starting to measure against a variety of different people on all sorts of different metrics. And I guess a bit of vulnerability. I am terrible at PowerPoints. That is just, it's not my strength. It's never been my strength. I say terrible. I've spent many years doing PowerPoints, and I would say on a scale of 10, I went from a 2 to 10 to a 5 to 10. And the thought of needing to put together a PowerPoint under a deadline, or that I know somebody wants it a certain way, sends absolute fear through my body. So I will do it, but it's something that I put off. It's something that I don't take joy in. And because of that, I haven't over the years really gotten better at it, but I have spent an incredible amount of time on it. And part of the reason is because I have surrounded myself with people who are incredibly, incredibly talented at PowerPoints. And they put a PowerPoint together and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I wish I could do that. And then all of a sudden I find myself feeling less than. And it's taken me time. And this is something I have to remind myself of all the time. One of the things that I have come to realize is I don't need to be great at PowerPoints to present great PowerPoints or to get my message across in a very articulate way. What I need is to be surrounded by one or more people that are great at PowerPoints, that can help put together those PowerPoints, and that we can work collaboratively so that that material or whatever it is that we're trying to convey, if we decide that PowerPoint is the right format to convey that in, we can send it across. And so now, instead of looking at somebody who can do PowerPoints wonderfully as my competition, I look at them as a collaboration partner. And so when I think about competition in the workplace, and a key thing to keep in mind when you find yourself in a competitive mindset is the best person to compete with is yourself. If you say, I'm great at all of these things over here and I'm not so good at these things, if you leave aside for just a minute, if you leave aside the things that you don't think you're great at or other people have said that you're not great at, and you just think about the things that you're great at, if you say, okay, how am I showing up today? And of these things that I'm great at, how can I be like 1% better, a little bit better tomorrow? What is the thing where, you know what, I feel like I can really level up on this or that? Because the goal is not to be great at everything. No one is great at everything. And if you surround yourself by people who shore up your weaknesses, you can build something well-rounded. And in my career, very fortunately, I've been able to build rock star teams, but each individual was not a rock star at everything. They were really good at 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 things, and they weren't so good at other things. And we leveraged the entire team or the entire collaborative group to be good at all of those things. So the next time you are finding yourself competing at work, think about why you're competing, whether it matters, and whether or not it's the right metric to be competing on. Competing against yourself is where it's at, because then you're growing against yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. And funny story, but years ago I took a test on like, what are your top 5 bits? I want to say emotional intelligence 2.0, but maybe that's not it. And one of them was focus. I remember that. And one of them was competition or competitive, something like that. And I remember reflecting on that. I got quite upset. I was like, that can't be right. That absolutely can't be right. And I realized actually I compete quite a bit with myself. So if I did something to a certain degree of wellness yesterday, today I'm thinking, how can I level that up? How can I make it better? Or if I'm doing something in a certain way, or the team is doing something in a certain way, or an organization is doing something in a certain way, I immediately default to what can we do to make that better, faster, smoother, more frictionless. So I'm always looking to nudge something just a little bit further with the skills and talents that I bring to the table. And so I find that I'm very competitive against kind of what is a status quo state on something or on myself, rather than trying to outdo somebody else. However, a month or so ago, I found myself trying to think about what I was good at in a very KPI metric driven way. And I went down a rabbit hole and had to pull myself out of it with the help of some friends and some mentoring myself. And here's what happened. I started this journey because I thought, I knew that I wanted to put out content, but I was afraid to be in front of the camera on stage to speak about these topics. I was really afraid of being judged and the vulnerability that comes with it. But I thought, I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to get much better at it because it's something I really want to get better at, so that by the end of 2024, I can look back and see where I've come full circle. But in the middle of all that, I thought, I'm not that good at this yet, and everybody else is better than me, and is my content valuable, and am I putting out content that people want to see, and am I even talking about the right things? Does anybody even care? And I had to step back from that, and I had to stop and realize that actually that's not what's important. What's important is I'm working on improving this particular skill throughout the course of this year and onwards. But I just kind of want to see, like, after 90 days, how far can I get? After 90 days after that, how far can I get? And I want to do it with content that I feel really, really comfortable sharing, because I'm competing with myself at the moment to be better than I was yesterday at sitting here and having a conversation with you when I can't actually see you, with engaging with you so that we can connect on some sort of business topic, transformation topic, career topic that's meaningful for you with the knowledge that I have, and sharing. And then I can get some, I guess, conversation back, maybe in the chat, or maybe reach out to me directly. I know a number of people that are currently watching my videos are reaching out to me directly, because frankly, it's a lot of people that I know, and I'm looking forward to reaching people that I don't know. But in order to do that, I have to keep putting out content, and it has to keep being valuable, and I have to keep getting the feedback, the criteria, the, hey, I would love it if you would talk about this or talk about that, so that I can keep going. But my own measurement of how I'm doing is not against the greats, the greatest speakers, the Simon Sinek's, the Mel Robbins, the Brene Browns, you name it. I'm not trying to compete against CEOs that are great orators on stage. I'm not trying to compete against, I don't know, some of the great YouTubers out there that have millions of followers. And I'm not trying to compete against the great singers. I'm competing against where I started from day one. I'm competing against where I was in the last video and how comfortable I am. And as long as I'm getting better at that, and I feel good about the progress that I'm making, and it's something that I want to get better at because of the benefits that I think it'll have into the future for myself and for others, that's why I'm doing this. So if I dial back and I say, when you are being competitive at work and you're competing against others, it's now a measurement game that's being measured on the wrong standards. Because if you're measuring yourself against somebody that has a greater deal of empathy, and maybe they're better at being a team leader on a certain type of project, or they're better at writing code, or they're better at doing PowerPoints. Let's go back to my weakness. They're better at doing PowerPoints. You are now not competing on the basis of the 8 or 10 things and the aggregate power of those that you're good at. You're now trying to compete against things that you might not be as good at, that aren't part of your core strengths. And what'll happen over time is all of a sudden you're going to start doubting the things that you're good at, because now your measure is skewed, because it's some of the things you're good at, but maybe some of the things you're not as good at, and or you're competing against somebody else's best self. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense around competition. So I would say go hard at work and compete, but compete against who you were yesterday, so that you don't get stuck in a cycle of competing against somebody else's best strengths, when instead you could be leveraging them as a collaborative partner in your group to get things done in a more effective way. And at work, the higher value that we can show, the more effectively we can get things done, is not about us being the best at everything, but it's about knowing who to leverage and when, instead of competing against them, pulling them in and having to be part of that group that you create around you. My success in the workplace has not been because I've been good at everything. It's because I've figured out who I need around me. And without gathering that kind of perfect team around you to help shore up your weaknesses and your strengths to shore up theirs, if you can't figure out how to create that around you, it doesn't matter actually how good or bad you are at certain things, because all of your weaknesses are going to be on display all of the time, because you're going to be going at it as a lone ranger. So competition is with yourself, and collaboration is to shore up your weaknesses. Hopefully this was helpful. If you like this, I would really appreciate a thumbs up, and please subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you'd like me to talk about. I love all things transformation, all things strategy, all things business, and I really want to help early and mid-career business folks show up at their best. Thanks so much. Have a great day.